भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
जय।
नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की
जय।
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
जय।
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामा कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की
जय।
मथुरापुरी वृंदावन धाम की
जय।
गंगा माई जमुना माई की
जय।
तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की
जय।
श्याम वेद भक्त वृंद की
जय।
गौर प्रेमानंदे।
हरि हरि बोल।
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा।
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा।
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा।
All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
हरि हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna. So today we are reading Canto 2, Chapter 2, entitled Lord in the Heart. And text number 15, Prabhu?
Yes, 15.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Sthiram sukham cha sanamastito yatir yada jihasur imamangalokam kale cha deshe cha mano na sanjayet प्राणान् यच्छेन मनसा जितासु स्थिरं सुखं च सन्मास्थितो यतिर् यदा जिहासुरिममङ्गलोकं काले च देशे च मनो न संजयेत् प्राणान् यच्छेन मनसा जितासु स्थिरं सुखं च सनम् अस्थितो यतिर् यदा जिहासुर् इममङ्गलोकं काले च देशे च मनो न संजयेत् प्राणान् यच्छेन मनसा जितासु. Please recite.
स्थिरं सुखं च सनमास्थितो यतिर् यदा जिहासुरिममङ्गलोकं काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जयेत् प्राणान् यच्छेन् मनसा जितासु.
हरे कृष्णा.
हरे कृष्णा.
स्थिरं सुखं च सनम् आस्थितो यति यदा जिहासुरिमम् आङ्गलोकम् काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जयेत् प्राणान् यच्छेन् मनसा जितासु.
स्थिरं सुखं च सन्नम् अस्थितो यतिर् यदा जिहासुरिमम् अङ्गलोकं काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जयेत् प्राणान् नियच्छेन मनसा जितासु.
Anyone else would like to recite? स्थिरं सुखं च शरणम् आस्थितो यति यदा जिहासुरिममङ्गलोकं काले च देशे च मनो न सज्जयेत् प्राणान् यच्छेन मनसा जिताशु. Synonyms: स्थिरम, without being disturbed. Sukham, comfortable. Cha also. Asanam, sitting accommodation. Asthitah, being situated. Yati, the sage. Yada, whenever. Jihasu, desires to give up. Imam, this. Anga, O king. Lokam, this body. Kale, in time. Cha, and. Deshe, in a proper place. Cha, also. Mana, the mind. Na, not. Sajjayet, may not be perplexed. Pranan, the senses. Niyachet, must control. Manasa, by the mind. Jitashu, conquering the life here. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarin Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: O King, whenever the yogi desire to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed and regulating the life here, should control the senses by the mind. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 8.14, it is clearly stated that a person who is totally engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord and who constantly remembers Him at every step easily obtains the mercy of the Lord by entering into His personal contact. Such devotees do not need to seek an opportune moment to leave the present body. But those who are mixed devotees, alloyed with fruitive action or empirical knowledge, philosophical speculation, require an opportune moment for quitting this body. For them, the opportune moments are stated in Bhagavad Gita 8:23 to 26. But these opportune moments are not as important as one's being a successful yogi, who is able to quit his body as he likes. Such a yogi must be competent to control his senses by the mind. The mind is easily conquered simply by engaging it at the lotus feet of the Lord. Gradually, by such service, all the senses become automatically engaged in the service of the Lord. That is a way of merging into the Supreme Absolute. Om Ajnana Timirdasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajim Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Laita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatane Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Guratasyanama Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Nunma He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastuti Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvahanu Swate Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavind Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Nuttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirit Shanavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hardanta Istobhadrani Vidyanoti Swarsam Nashtaprayasha Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagava Sevya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Hare Krishna. So today's verse, again, one more time I recite. Sthiram sukham cha shanam astito yati yada jihasur imam angalokam kale cha deshe cha mano cha sajjayet prana niyachena manasa jitashu. O king, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human being, he should not be perplexed about proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed, and regulating the life here, should control the senses by the mind. So this is the chapter which is basically Sukdev Goswami answering the questions posed by the Parikshit Maharaj. If you remember, Parikshit Maharaj asked the question because Parikshit Maharaj only have 7 days left, and he is inquiring that how a person can get perfection in within 7 days, because after 7 days he has to leave the body. So he wants some method or some process through which he can actually obtain the mercy of the Lord. One thing that every human being should know, that this life is not permanent. Whoever takes birth here in this material world has to give up this body also. This body, the material body, has a time period. At the time of birth, this material body creates, and at the time of death, we have to leave this body. So Bhagavad Gita very clearly mentioned that Janam Mridyu Jara Vyadhi Dukh Doshang Darsham. This birth, old age, disease, and death is the problem of the life. So at the time of leaving the body, whatever a person thinks, that consciousness is very, very important, that Bhagavad Gita mentions. During our life, we go through many, many activities, and everything, whatever we do through our body, mind, and words, create impression in our consciousness. So Bhagavad Gita clearly states that our test of our life is at the time of death. When we are going to leave the body, at that time, whatever we are thinking, whatever we are doing at that time, those things will basically carry on. Because this life is not the end of our journey. A living entity is going through different bodies, and this life is just one stop. After a living entity give up this body, he has to go through another body. So normally when a person, in a common say, we say, like, if somebody is living in a small house, and if he want to move out from that house, probably he want to go to a better house, right? Nobody want to go to a house which is of less standard. They want to go a higher standard. So this Bhagavad Gita explains that at the time of leaving the body, whatever state of our mind is, we are going to achieve that stage. So in our scriptures, it is mentioned that there are 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. 4 varnas are basically the division of the society according to the job, according to their activities, like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Then there are 4 ashramas, which are spiritual development: Brahmachari, Grasta, Vanapra, Sannyas. And this spiritual development, ashrams are created in such a way that a person who is in this material world do his activities, and then ultimately he achieved the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the end of his life. So in the first 25 years, a person has to live like a brahmachari. In next 25 years, or 25% of the life, is living like a grasta, where there is a small permission to enjoy the senses, regulate in a regulated fashion. And ultimately, when it's come to the Vanaprastha, a person should give up all kind of sense gratification and live a life of austerity. And then ultimately, finally, sannyas, where a person will give up all connection to the body and related all the relationship with the body, and then continuously focus on the Lord, so that once the time comes to leave the body, he can actually achieve back to Godhead. So the end of their life is very, very important time. All our scriptures say that that's the time where we need to be very, very careful. Parshit Maharaj has 7 days left. He want to know what should I do at that time. So in the previous chapter, Sukdev Goswami said, when time come to leave the body, a person should leave the house. He should not get scared. Whenever we think of our death or leaving the body, it's a scary thought. People get scared. Oh my God, I have to leave the body. Where I'm going to go? What is going to happen? Many people don't have idea that there's a life after death. So they live in ignorance. They live in ignorance and then die in ignorance. And then where they are going to go, they have no idea. But our Vedic life, the Vedas does not say that you live like a undirectional life, and when you left the body, you go in an unknown place. Vedas recommend that we should choose our destination. Where we want to go, we should choose our destination. The way we prepare our life will decide where we are to go. Bhagavad Gita very nicely explained in the 14th chapter. Urdhvam gacchanti satvastha, madhye tishtanti rasa, jaganya gunvati stha adho gacchanti tamasa. People who are in mode of goodness will go upwards. They go upwards means higher planetary systems. Maybe like Bhuvarloka, Swargloka, like Tapaloka, Janaloka, Maharloka, Brahmaloka, or if they are really advanced in their spiritual life, they can go to the Vaikuntha planets. Right? But people who are Rajoguni or people who are mode of passion, they will remain in this world. They will remain in this on this middle planetary system. And people who are Tamoguni, they will go down in an animal planet, animal kingdom. They will become dogs, cat, and other animals. So everyone, what is the state of their mind at the time of leaving the body is very, very important. So here, Sukdev Goswami is explaining that when the time comes to leave the body, what should we do? Here he's talking about the yogi. Yogi means person who is performing the Ashtanga Yoga process that is explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter number 6. So here Sukdev Goswami is saying, Sthiram sukham chashanam astito yatir yada jihasur imam angalokam. He's saying that whenever yogi desire to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about proper time or place. This is a very important point here. Sukdev Goswami is saying that because what happens is whatever spiritual activity we do, whatever devotional activity we do, right, that actually helped by time and place. So for example, we are doing some activity, say some activity of donation, we are giving charity. If we are doing charity at some place, say for example, somewhere in Philadelphia, okay, and downtown we are giving charity. So yes, we are doing a charity which is a pious activity. We are giving charity is a pious activity. That charity will have effect because the pious activity is there. But if you give that charity in a place which is called, in a place which is holy place, say for example in our Philadelphia temple, or maybe some place like in Vrindavan, Mayapur, or wherever the holy place is there, that place is matter. And time when you're giving, the time is like if it's a Janmashtami, if it's a like a Ram Navami, if it's a Ekadashi, those time, so they will enhance your activity significantly. Means if you basically give like $100, so if you give it on a proper time and proper place, it will increase the value of that $100. It will be like $1,000, more than that maybe, right? But if you give in a without consideration of time and place, it will basically just a local $100 maybe. You are giving $100 charity, that's fine. So that's why there is a glorification of time and place. When we perform our activity in a holy place or on a proper time, like yesterday was Ekadashi, today is Dwadashi. The Dwadashi is also very important as Ekadashi. Similarly, when there is a Purushottam month, there is a Kartik month, there is a like Chaturmas, all these things are there, dates, these times, Janmashtami or all this Tithi. So if you do it on those days, the effect is very significant, more enhanced. Similarly, place where we are doing bhakti, like Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, Dwarka, or Haridwar, whichever the holy place we are doing activity, that will increase, right? So because of that, what happened is like it's recommended that Vedas recommend that people should go there and do that. But here, Sukadeva Goswami is not encouraging that. Sukadeva Goswami is not encouraging that. You should not consider, you should not get perplexed about proper time and place. Why is that? While Vedas recommend that. Vedas are recommending that we should do that because that's where you get increase in your bhakti, increase in your devotional life. Here, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that more than that is important that you control your mind. Here, in the next line says that, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed and regulating the life here, should control the senses by the mind. Because if your mind is disturbed, you really cannot focus on that because mind is our central point. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that mind is your friend, mind is your enemy also. Whoever have controlled their mind, the mind is their best friend. And whoever is not able to control the mind is their best enemy because mind can drag you down. Right? So even if you are sitting in a holy place on a proper time, but if your mind is not controlled and if your mind is not at right place, then what happens? Your consciousness is somewhere else. Generally, it is said that you are there where your mind is. So even though you are sitting, see, right now we are sitting in this Bhagavatam class. If your mind is somewhere else in India or somewhere else in some other place, so even though we are sitting in the here physically, but our mind is there, so we are there. So mind is very, very important. That's why the mind has to be controlled. One of our Acharya, Raghunath Das Goswami, has composed a book named Mana Siksha. This mind has to be regulated very nicely, and that he's explained that how to really train our mind. So this is what here is saying that he should control the mind means what Sukadeva Goswami is saying that you should constantly think about Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktava kalevaram ya paryati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshaya. And the next verse he says that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajjantanta kalevaram tam tam ivati konteya sadatat bhavita. Whatever state of mind a person has at the end of leaving this body, he will achieve that state without a doubt. And if somebody thinks about me, he will come to me without a doubt. So it is very, very important that we should actually focus our mind on Krishna at the time of leaving the body. Even though time and place are very important factor. Time and place are important factor. They are not to be neglected. Right? But here, Sukadeva Goswami is saying not to be perplexed. He's saying if you able to get it, then fine. It's not that you have to go there. Because more than that important is your controlling the mind. Here we are not really saying that you should not go there. We should go there. Sukadeva Goswami previously recommended that. Sukadeva Goswami previously recommended that you should leave your home, go to a holy place, meditate on the Lord. But here he's saying that if you are not able to go, or you think that that's a more difficult task to go, then more important point is thinking about from your mind. So here we see Srila Prabhupada mentioned that in the purport. Let's read that purport. Here Prabhupada says that this Bhagavad Gita verse 8:14. This Bhagavad Gita 8:14 actually explains about the pure devotional service. Pure devotional service that in Bhagavad Gita we see the 8th chapter explains about attaining the Supreme. So in that, this is here is basically like, I'm going to go to that verse, Bhagavad Gita 8:14. It says, Ananya cheta satam yomam smriti nityashaha tasyam sulabham partha nitya yuktasya yoginah. In this chapter, Krishna explains Yoga Mishra Bhakti, and then finally he come to this point here where he's explaining the pure devotional service, which is very, very important here. Here, Krishna is saying that for one who always remember me without deviation. A very important point here is why Prabhupada quoting this verse in this is more important than time and place is remembering Krishna. So for one who always remembers me without deviation, means constantly satatam. This word satatam means constant. Ananya chetaha. Ananya means without deviation. Na anya ananya. Without changing your mind anywhere else. Cheta means your mind. Without deviating mind on other place. Satatam. You continuously remembering me. Smrati. Smrati. Yo. Whoever. Mam. Me. Whoever remember me. Nitya Shah continuously. For them, I am easy to obtain. So means remembrance of Krishna is more important. Time and place is also important. As I mentioned, they are not to be neglected. We are not denying that. But more than that is remembering of Krishna. I'm easy to obtain. That's why Prabhupada, then he says that Krishna says, "O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service." Or how you can remember Krishna at the end of your life? It's not that suddenly we'll come to know in Krishna. Many people think that whole life you can do whatever you want, nonsense, whatever you are doing, or the end of the life, I will make some material arrangement, something, so that I can remember Krishna. It's not possible. Only way you can remember Krishna at the end of the life when you constantly engage yourself in devotional service. Tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginah. Whoever is nitya yuktaha, whoever is constantly engaging in devotional service 24/7. That's why Prabhupada says that we should chant 24/7. So whoever is constantly remembering Krishna, who is constantly engaging in the service of Krishna, for them, sulabha partha, very easy to achieve. Otherwise, see, remembering Krishna at the end of the life is not easy. When the time comes to leave this body, we go through excruciating pain. Garud Purana explains that our body, when we leave the soul, when the soul leaves this body, is so much pain that a living entity experiences, because we are in this body for so long and we are so much attached. This attachment creates so much pain while leaving the body. But if a devotee who is constantly engaging in the devotional life, whole life, so for them, tasyaham sulabha partha, very easy to obtain, because they are constantly focusing on Krishna. They are not really engaging on material activity. So if they are constantly engaging on Krishna, constantly engaging in devotional service, for them, very easy to obtain Krishna. Very easy to obtain Krishna. So that's what Krishna says here. So if we go back here, just hold on. Am I sharing the right screen? Hare Krishna. Here again. So here Krishna explains that, Srila Prabhupada explains that in Bhagavad Gita 8:14, it is clearly stated that a person who is totally engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord and constantly remembers him at every step easily obtain the mercy of Lord by entering into his personal contact. So this is more important than thinking about the time and place, which basically Sukdev Goswami is saying. So such devotees do not need to seek an opportune moment to leave the present body. Yeah. So here this mentioned these opportune moment is like a time. If we see in Bhagavad Gita, here Prabhupada explains later, is that but those who are mixed devotees. So up till now, what Srila Prabhupada mentioned is for the pure devotees who can actually ananya devotees who can actually focus on Krishna, and for them it's very easy to obtain Krishna at the end of his life. But those who are mixed devotees, alloyed with fruitative action or empirical philosophical speculation, means karma mishra bhakti or jnana mishra bhakti. If their bhakti is mixed, their bhakti is not pure. Either they are mixed with karma or jnana. For them, they have to seriously consider about this point. What Prabhupada said that here, require an opportune moment for quitting this body. For them, it is very important to actually get the proper time and proper place. Because it is mentioned here, Prabhupada mentioned here, for them, opportune moments are stated in Bhagavad Gita 8:23 to 8:26. But these opportune moments are not as important as one's being a successful yogi who is able to quit his body's like. Such a yogi must be competent to control his senses. So these moments are there for people who are not pure devotees, like they are mixed devotees. For them, these opportune moments will help them to achieve their destination where they want to go. But these opportune moments are not important for a successful yogi. Successful yogi means who are able to control his mind, who is able to control his senses, and who are able to control the process, who have achieved the highest peak of the yoga process, means samadhi. So in a yoga, we have this eightfold system, right? We have yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So successful yogi means who have successfully achieved the state of samadhi, the trance. So for them, it really does not matter the time and place, because more important than that is they are controlling the mind. So such yogi, here Prabhupada says that such yogi must be competent to control his senses by the mind. Okay. So the mind is easily conquered simply by engaging it at the lotus feet of the Lord. Because this is very important point, that how can you control the mind when you focus your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. In the yoga process, the first 5 stages, yama, niyama, asana, the pranayam, dharana, pratyahar. Till pratyahar, these 5 steps, they are basically controlling the things. But right from dharana, which basically Sukdev Goswami explains from the previous chapter, the process of dharana, from dharana onward, a yogi should start meditating on the transcendental body of the Lord, who is sitting in the heart of all living entity. And then ultimately, when it's come to samadhi, he should actually focus on the lotus feet of the Lord. When we meditate on the transcendental form of the Lord, our mind can easily get controlled. Mind is not able, we cannot control mind by some physical arrangement, some mechanical arrangement. Is not possible. Pratyahar is basically when you are withdrawing your senses. But in order to control your mind, it is very important that we should engage our mind in a higher taste, higher subject, which is the lotus feet of the Lord, or the transcendental body of the Lord. So that's why Prabhupada says here, the mind is easily conquered, easily conquered simply by engaging at the lotus feet of the Lord. And gradually, by such service, all senses becomes automatically engaged in the service of the Lord. And when you are able to think about Lord from your mind, then all other senses automatically align with the mind. They will be automatically get controlled. And that is the way of merging into Supreme Absolute. This is the way you actually can control the mind, and you can actually think about Krishna at that time. Now, is there any example? Yes, sir. We have seen that how Dhruva Maharaj, how did he perform yoga process and bhakti together to actually focus on the Lord's transcendental body and able to see the Lord face to face. We see Dhruva Maharaj when he met Narad Muni explained him to go to a forest, Madhuvan, and there you should actually worship the Lord and then start meditating on the Lord in your mind. Okay. So that way, like Dhruva Maharaj actually able to achieve the stage where he was constantly thinking about the Lord. And then ultimately at the 6th month, at the last, and after 6 months, he was able to completely focus on the transcendental body of the Lord. And ultimately at the final stage, the Lord personally appeared in front of Dhruva Maharaj. You know. So, and then Lord Dhruva Maharaj could see Lord face to face. That was a wonderful example for the Lord, for Dhruva Maharaj to achieve that stage. So that's a practical example. So here, what is the essence? Essence is that it is very important that we should think about the Lord at the time of leaving the body. We should consider time and place that will enhance our meditation. But if we are already, if somebody is perfect in their devotional life, if they're already perfect in devotional life, and if they can, if they are performing the devotional service whole life, at the end of the life, at the end of the life, he was able to focus on Krishna. For them, this time and place are not important, right? So here Sukdev Goswami is assuring Parishit Maharaj that because you are a devotee of the Lord, you are basically the whole life you are thinking about Krishna. So for you is an easy moment to understand Krishna. For you, in easy time to remember Krishna. So don't worry, you will go back home, back to Godhead. That is assurance Sukdev Goswami is giving. And same thing what Prabhupada told us, like if we chant Hare Krishna 24/7, if we filled our life with devotional service, if we continuously do pure devotional service to the Lord, there is a guarantee that at the end of the life, we will be able to remember Krishna and then we will be able to move out. It doesn't matter where we are in this world, whether we are in our home, whether we are in outside, whether we are in Holidham, whether we are here and there. That's a secondary thing. The first primary thing is engaging ourselves in devotional life. That will actually facilitate our thinking of Krishna at the end of the life. Ante Narane Smriti. That's what Sukdev Goswami says in previous chapter. Etavan Sankhyogyabham Sadharma Parinishtiya Janmalabha Parapumsam Ante Narane Smriti. When we remember Krishna at the end of the life, that is our highest achievement. And that can be achieved by constantly engaging in devotional service to the Lord. Okay, with that said, I'll let me give a pause here and see if anyone have any question or any comments or any reflections they would like to share.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you're so clear about everything, and I like you when you're talking about the mind. You know that even though we are in the Bhagavatam class and your mind is somewhere else, and that is not going to work. So, like, we have to really doing one thing at a time, I think, like that. Because when we are reading Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam, our mind should be, in the Bhagavatam class. And we should control our mind all the time. And that is really hard, but you are so clear about everything, and I get some confidence from your class. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing your reflections. Very nice. Yes, Prabhupada always emphasize that out of 9 devotional service, we should try to, if we are doing one activity, whether we are chanting or whether we are doing Srimad Bhagavatam, or whether we are deity worship, whether we are cleaning the temple, we should try to focus on that, because that activity will cleanse our mind and we'll able to remember Krishna. So that way, basically, we'll able to relish, because if you try to do multitasking, which is basically like nowadays, that's the norm. People try to do multitasking, which is basically like creating so much disturbance in our mind, because multitasking itself is a disturbance to mind. So, but our scriptures, our Vedas explain, and Prabhupada already mentioned that we should try to focus on devotional service, because every activity what we do in devotional life, like whether we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam or whether we are chanting Hare Krishna, they're not different than Krishna. So, like not paying attention to one activity and doing other activity is like a inattentiveness, which is become an offense also. So it's very important that we should focus on one activity, and especially when reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedvyas Muni said in the initial beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Digam kalpatoru galitam phalam sukhamukha damridrav samitam pibat Bhagavatam rasamalyam murhav rasika boi bhavuka. He's inviting all of us, all the Rasika devotees, to come and relish, means drink the Srimad Bhagavatam, not just read or study, but drink the Srimad, relish, enjoy. So that we can do it when we are absorbed in the thought of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the main point. Thank you very much for sharing your realization, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
So, like when we say yogi, we are normally relate to Ashtanga yogis. But in broader way, if you see karma yogis, jnana yogis, dhyana yogis, even bhakti yogis, they all are yogis actually. They are all transcendentalists, and they are distinct. They can try to go to Krishna, ultimately. So how we distinguish that is Ashtanga yogi. Normally we say just yogi, so it's a broader way, it's a different meaning though. Because yoga means to connect with Krishna.
Yeah. So,
so yogi includes only Ashtanga yogi or everything else?
Well, actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says yoga means bhakti. Because yoga means what? Like Prabhu, my understanding is that what I heard from the devotees and all, yoga means to connect to Lord.
Right.
And in this age of Kali Yuga, the only process that works to connect to Lord is bhakti. Other processes will not be able to reach to the final point to reach bhakti, means reach Krishna. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, even though they are the processes, we call it as a yoga, but ultimately, if they are not connected to bhakti, they will not give result. Without bhakti, nothing will work it out in this age of Kali Yuga. So, even though karma is mentioned, jnana is mentioned, ashtanga is mentioned, there are different techniques to achieve to the Lord, but they will take you to certain destination, which is not the final destination. Karma can take you to certain place, jnana can take you to certain place, yoga can take you to this, ashtanga can take you to certain place, but only bhakti can take you directly to Golok Vrindavan. So even though when we say yoga, generally people in a broader term, like in society, in Bhagavad Gita, it says yoga means karma, jnana. Actually, yoga, Prabhupada, everywhere Prabhupada translated yoga means bhakti. Because only bhakti can give you ultimate destination. So ultimate yoga purpose is where you can really unite with Krishna is through bhakti only. So this karma will basically, if it's not done with connection with bhakti, karma can maximum take you to heavenly planets. It's not going to go beyond that, because if it's not a bhakti, if you're not doing with the bhakti, it's not connecting with the Lord, you are basically doing for getting some profit out of that, simple connection, simple karma. And then jnana is basically you might want to merge to impersonal Brahman. Yoga also basically is a technique, like Ashtanga is technique to use merge into the body of Paramatma or in the Brahman effulgence. But Krishna, the bhakti is only which actually give you service to Krishna, service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So without in reality, like if I see in chapter number 6, in the last verse, Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana. Krishna says in the last verse, Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana. Of all the yogis, the yogi who is thinking of me and in the heart and worshipping me is the best of the yogi. And who is then That's the bhakti. Only bhakti, through bhakti, we are constantly remembering Krishna. So that's why he is the topmost. And to further say, one more point I would like to say that, Srila Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he actually mentioned that bhakti is distinct than yoga. All these yogi which are category we see karma, jnana, ashtanga. So this last verse of Bhagavad Gita, which is saying that yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana. So according to Srila Jiva Goswami, is actually distinguishing all the yogis from bhakti. Bhakti is transcendental. Bhakti is not even material. Generally, what Jiva Goswami is saying that in a like we say a process is like a material process. Like you do one thing, after that one thing, after the one thing, and the goal is something else, right? But bhakti is right from the beginning. Bhakti is transcendental. When we chant Hare Krishna is transcendental. When we achieve the Krishna is transcendental. So he is distinguishing that he's not even keeping bhakti into the category of other yogis. He's saying bhakti is distinct than all these yogis, what is mentioned there up till now 6th chapter. So whatever Krishna explained before 6th chapter, this karma, jnana or ashtanga, they are not even where the bhakti is. Bhakti is topmost. So that's why without bhakti, even these three process doesn't work.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, but normally, when we say yogi, but they include everything, because it's sometimes misleading, when we know bhakti yogi is the best, but sometimes we say is yogi or transcendentalist, many times we see that word in Bhagavatam also, transcendentalist, but that means bhakti yogi, but people can misunderstand with that it may be dhyan yogi or different kind of yogi, dhyan yogi or Gyan yogi or karma yogi, whatever.
Yes. So that's why Prabhupada, like when Prabhupada translate Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he's saying that this is the Bhakti Vedanta purport, right? And he right from the 2nd chapter, he explains what is Krishna consciousness, right? So he connect with everything. Like even though it's a Sankhya, even though it's a karma, jnana, ashtanga, all these techniques are there. They ultimately culminates into bhakti. So if the term which is basically used karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, this is basically to encourage people to actually wherever they are, they can connect to the Krishna. But in reality, there is no karma yogi. Yogi is a term which is basically used by karma. With karma, it's actually not practical. Karma is basically like everybody's engaged in karma, but when you engage your karma into and connect with Krishna, we call karma yogi. But actually, it's not karma yogi. It's basically a technique. So yes, this is misleading. Like this yogi term is misleading, but actually yogi means bhakti. What explains. So we should actually whenever we say people in our preaching, we should not try to connect those as yoga, because people might think that these are competing systems. Karma is one way, jnana is one way, ashtanga is one way, or bhakti is one way. So we can choose any system, but actually it's not. And even it's not a ladder also. Like generally people say that it's a yoga ladder. Like, you go to karma, then jnana, or ashtanga, then bhakti. No, it's not like that. You don't need to go to karma, jnana, or ashtanga in order to go to bhakti. Bhakti is separate and distinct, and bhakti, all these yogas have a limitation. You can like karma, jnana, and ashtanga has limitation. You cannot achieve the ultimate goal with these processes. Only way you can achieve this by bhakti. And even karma, jnana, and ashtanga, they are independently, they cannot give the result also without including bhakti there. So that need to be clear actually. Like devotee should make sure that these things are clear when we are explaining to the other people here.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Anyone else have any comment or question? All right. So thank you all for joining today morning. So we can end our call. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, everyone. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृत्ति की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।